Welcome back, guys. My name is Mayowaoye, and today's tutorial is all about this really cute statement dress. And this video in particular will be known as the part 1 of this tutorial. Anyways, don't forget to tap the subscribe button below your screen and let's head in. So guys, for this statement dress tutorial, the first thing you need is your basic dress block. And like I always say, you always need your basic dress because that's like the foundation. That's the first thing you need in pattern drafting. It's just like the bare minimum, like the first thing you need before we can then now start altering and doing like a lot of pattern manipulations to get the design we want. So yeah, that's my basic dress block right there. Now what I'm going to do next is to cut my pattern at the waistline. So I'm going to cut it at the waist just because if you look at the design, you see that it's a dress that is cut at the waist. So we will be when you cut it, it's going to be splitted and separated into an upper bodice part and a lower skirt piece. So yeah, and now because the today's tutorial is going to be splitted or is splitted into two, and we'll be starting with the skirt piece. That is, will be all the manipulations we'll be doing today will be based solely on the lower skirt piece. So mind you guys, if you want to, before splitting the pattern at the waistline, please remember to measure in your desired dress length. That is how long you want your dress to be. Please measure that before splitting your dress pattern. That is your basic dress pattern. Before splitting it into two, just measure your dress length. Now as it is now, I can use this pattern to cut both my front lower skirt piece and my back lower skirt piece. So to use this to cut my back lower skirt piece, I'm just going to use the borderline right there as my zip allowance. So yeah, so I'm just going to use that spot there as my zip allowance for the back. Then I'm going to add a 1-inch seam allowance to the side right there, and then I'm just going to trim that out, and then I'll place on my fabric to cut the back piece. And that's it really. And also before cutting the pattern on the fabric, I also made sure to close in my dart because I didn't really need it anymore. So all I did was just to close my dart with and then just secured with a paper tape or a pin before placing the pattern on my fabric to then cut the back pieces out. So yeah, this is it, my two back pieces cut out. So yeah, now I'm just going to use that same pattern now to manipulate and draft the front of my skirt. And to do that, first thing I'm going to do is to just close that borderline because I don't need that borderline on my skirt, on my front skirt. So we used it for our zipper allowance for the back, but when you're cutting the front or doing anything for the front, you have to just close that borderline because we don't need it. Now let's roll. That part I just labeled will be known as the center of my skirt. So yeah, now I'm just going to draw in drape lines into my skirt. You can see I've drawn in drape lines like that. So one thing also you need to notice that if you look at the design, you will see that there's a kind of curve at the hem. So you can just curve it up or curve your pattern at the hem anyhow you want. Just do it anyhow you want, really. So I hope you understand what I just explained. And that's my new hem right there. So I'm just going to trim that off now so you can see what my new hem looks like. So yeah, now the next thing I'm going to do, I want to close up that dart for my front also. So to close that dart, I'm going to first cut out this line right here. You can see that. So once I cut it, I'll just cut it up to my dart point and then I'll stop. Then I'll cut one of my dart legs. I'll cut it open all the way to the dart point also. And now I'm just going to close the dart and secure with a paper tape. So yeah, pretty much. Now I'm just going to keep drawing in more drape lines into this. Now this opened up line, that's the side of my skirt. So that opened up place, I shouldn't cut that line from that side. That's from my side seam. I should start cutting it from the center, because if you look at the design, you will see that the drapes, like, they started from the center of the skirt rather than from the side of the skirt. So I hope you understand what I just explained. So I'm just going to close that part, this opened up part. I'm going to close it so that it can be transferred to the other side of my skirt. So you just see what I'm doing right now. So once you see what I'm doing, just like you understand what I'm explaining. And that's it right there, transferred. So I'm just going to keep open it up more, and then cut up all my drape lines now to the side. So I'm not going to cut it off from the side. I'll just cut it to a point before it reaches the side seam line. So yeah, just keep cutting and cutting and cutting till you're done cutting all the drape or ruched lines. Now I'm just going to place it on a new piece of paper, and then I'm going to spread it out as much as I want. So you spread it out as much as you want, depending on how ruched or draped you want the skirt to be. And this is it for me. I'm just going to connect all the drape lines, and then you add a ½ inch allowance to that part. So once you're done with all of this, you cut 2 pieces of this pattern on your fabric, and this is it. So I folded my fabric, and then I placed my pattern on the fabric to cut it out, and now I have 2 pieces of this draped piece. So yeah, I'm just going to take out my pins from my pattern so you can see this is the back and this is the front. Starting with the front, I'm going to sew a gather stitch on that side of my fabric. So to know how to gather that point, just get your pattern, what your pattern looked like before we started doing all of those slashing and spreading. Measure what the length of that pattern, of that skirt pattern, measure what the length is, whatever it is, whatever length it is, that is what you'll be gathering your front drape piece back to. So I hope you understand what I just explained. And this is me sewing all of the gather stitches and all of that. So yeah, this is it done and gathered. So now I'm just going to place both of them right sides together and sew at the center. So once I'm done sewing it at the center, then I'm just going to place my back skirt piece. I'm going to place it right sides together with the front piece, and then I'll sew at the side seams by 1 inch. So yeah, I'm just going to sew up all of that together, and then that is me sewing the 2 front pieces at the center. I'm just sewing it down at the center. So once I'm done sewing, then I'll place my back piece on top of it like I explained, and this is it all done. So this is what my final skirt looks like. Now I'm just going to place it on my miniature mannequin now so you can see what the full fit will look like. Don't forget to watch out for my next tutorial where we'll be completing the whole look. The next tutorial will be working on the wide neck collar of the statement dress. We'll be working on the statement sleeve and all the rest of the dress. Tap the subscribe button below your screen, guys, the like button, and also the notifications bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming tutorials when I post them. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.